is. Yeah. You're looking good. Good.
I didn't
good,
hear you. How are you guys doing?
We're doing. We were talking about not being able to get enough sleep, or just all I want to do since this eclipse is sleep, you know?
Right? I just woke up this morning. I woke up this morning and the first thing I said was, that was too short. Like I wanted to sleep more. I'm like,
oh, I know. I wish there were like more hours somewhere that we could, you know, slide into our pockets or something, because I just think there's not enough hours somehow. Like my days are full, but it's like still not enough somehow. I don't know.
No, there's never enough.
But it's true. All I wanted to do since the eclipse, even coming up to the eclipse, is sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's hitting me in my 12th house, but I just, wow, you know, it's hard to be out there and get motivated right now. But I think after these last few years, it's been rough, you know, and I feel like there's this huge collective grief thing going on because everybody's lost so many people. And
oh my God, I know. So many people have died. It's just of, you know, I'm not talking about COVID either. I'm talking about, you know, just so many people have passed on and that I know of. And it's very overwhelming for people.
Yeah. Anyway.
But you, plant woman.
Wait, hold on.
Oh, wow.
Wait.
Oh,
did you make that? I bought 2 new bumper stickers on my food poisoning vacation.
What happened? What happened with you?
I got hired to go to Nashville to assess Doug the Pug. I've been working with him for about 6 years. And, you know, people think, I don't know if you know who he is, but he has like millions and millions and millions and millions of followers. And people think that they have a body double. Because Doug is 10, you know, and people, you know, this baseline theory of your dog is old at 8, right? They accuse them of having a body double, right? And I'm like, because Doug looks so good, and I'm like, he's only 10.
Yeah,
you know,
like
Doug,
what is?
He's only 10. Anyways, they're like, he's 10 years old. You know, could you come and you know, we've never met you. We've been working with each other, you know, for 6 years, every year. And I said, sure. And I got there, I did my work because I was only working for 2 days, the weekend. And Sunday night, they brought me out to dinner. And I ordered the vegan pho and the fresh rolls. And I didn't see these little shrimp in the fresh roll. And I mean, they were really tiny fresh rolls. They're only about that big around. And they were cut in 3 pieces, and I just chew, and I'm like, what was that? And then so I looked at the other fresh roll. I'm like, oh shit. What? I mean, it was fine. I didn't want shrimp, but it tasted weird. And I was like,
uh-oh.
And by 11 o'clock, I was basically naked and afraid. I was shivering. And I said, oh shit. So I took our Seneca album right away.
Mm-hmm. Did that help?
Which, yes, it took me from violent food poisoning to just body shakes and not throwing up. So it wasn't so violent because I've had shrimp poisoning before. I'm done with shrimp. Shrimp and I are done.
Shrimp poisoning, I've had it once, and I thought I was going to die. I thought I was going to have to go to the hospital. I mean, you're literally curled up on the floor, like you said, naked and shivering. And
no. And Wednesday night, it was still going strong. Wednesday night at about, I don't know, I think from 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. I was on my best friend lives there, and I told her to come get me as soon as the morning came about on Monday. And she put me in her, like, almost like some giant room with my own bathroom. And I literally was on the bathroom floor like I was 21 and drunk. It's just like, I couldn't even move.
Oh,
and then
God.
it finally got better on Friday. I was like, But the arsenicum helped so much.
I got sick at a client's house. It was like about 3 weeks ago. Kathy, luckily I know her well enough. And I was sitting there, I'd had like indigestion all day long. And I was like, my stomach wasn't feeling good. And I was trying to take stuff to help it. I had her dog, I had acupuncture needles and her dog on my lap. And all of a sudden I felt it coming on and I had to hand her the dog and run to her bathroom. I ended up just like purging and I got home and vomited again that night. Yeah. And then I felt almost like flu, like I was cold and shaky and stuff for about 2 days. And I didn't eat. I just went on like a fast for like,
me too.
For like a week, Yeah. So, I don't know how
oh my God.
But arsenicum.
Fun. Yeah, arsenicum, I don't travel without it, but I'm certainly not going to travel out without a food poisoning kit. I travel with a glutening kit. I travel with arsenicum, and then I didn't even think of food poisoning. So yeah, I'm going to travel with that as well. I'm just going to have my little kit, because when you're out of town, I sent my friend to the store to get things. She came back with everything wrong.
Yeah.
And and she just doesn't, she's not in the world, our world, and she's like, is this what I was like? Oh, of course it is, honey.
But like what, Nux vomica? What are other good? Because you don't want something to really that you have to swallow and too much on your stomach when you're vomiting either. That's why I
didn't vomit the whole time. I was so excited about that.
Wow.
Yeah, I will do anything not to vomit. And
yeah, so will I.
Yeah, anything. It's so violent when I do it, and it's not like a dog. They puke so easily. And no, not us. So no, I love arsenicum for that reason. But it was a long 5 days.
Oh,
so I'm a newbie to all this. So could you explain what is arsenicum?
Oh, it's a homeopathic version of arsenic.
Oh, okay. So it's like little pellets, and you just put it in your tongue. And,
it's the vibration of arsenic. And arsenic will make you violently ill. Right. So the proving is that it will do the opposite when you ingest food, and it really works really well. Especially I use it, with dogs and cats and myself and my family. Whenever I go out to eat with friends, I have it in my pocket in case you eat something that makes you feel crappy. I love it. I think it works really well. I mean, it doesn't work every time, but it works most of the time.
So what sort of like concentration? Because you're talking about like homeopathic.
I use a 200C.
200C.
The 200C. Yeah.
Yeah, I use the 200. Sometimes I'll use the 30, but usually I just use the 200. And I used a 1M when I had food poisoning.
Okay.
I used the big guns. Yeah. I started out with 30C, but I carry all three. So
I've got to get some of that on hand. I don't have I think I just have the 30C on hand right now, but yeah.
So what else would you recommend when you're traveling? What should you put in your little like kit in case you get sick?
I carry my homeopathics, which is my arnica. I carry hypericum. I carry Nux vomica, belladonna, apis, and arsenicum. Those are the ones that I normally carry. And carbo veg, I'll carry that one. And then I also carry some therapies and some phytoembryonics. I carry mountain pine, fig, nettle bud. I carry those guys. And then Greg Tilford gave me a food poisoning regimen on my Facebook page, and I have to go and look at it, what it is again, and make that up.
I'm going to check that up.
It said it's on my Facebook post about being sick. Greg mentioned something that saved him from E. coli twice. Like everyone got it, and it helped him get over it really quickly. So I'm going to write that down, probably mix it up, and put that in my kit too.
Wow.
I mean, even like I have some of the Chinese formulas, but I just didn't, when you're so sick and nauseous, you just don't. That's why I like the homeopathics better for it, because you can just dissolve those little tablets in your mouth.
Yeah,
and
you really don't have to do much. You just shove it in.
Poor thing.
That's basically all I had the energy to do was turn the cap and
Exactly.
Oh my
Because
goodness.
taking bitters or taking Coptis or something, I think I'd probably just throw it right back up.
Yeah. And what's really funny is when I was sick, so from my childhood, you know how we do these things from our childhood that we,
Yes.
so whenever I get super, super sick to the point where, you're kind of delirious, you're a mess, you think, oh God, or if I'm on my way to the hospital or whatever, for some reason, I start singing Kenny Rogers, The Gambler. Okay. I've done it ever since I was a kid. And my friend's like, Rita, are you okay? I'm like, yeah. She's like, you've been singing The Gambler for like hours. And I don't even know I'm doing it.
Song. We revert back to when we're like little.
Yeah. My mom used to play that album all the time. And we used to sing that together. And whenever I'm super sick, I sit there and I'm like, on a warm summer's evening, a tree found nowhere. I start singing it. And I don't even know I'm singing it. Oh my God, it's hilarious. And my late partner who passed on, she if she ever heard me singing it, she used to panic. She'd be like, oh God, what's the matter? I'm like, oh, I don't feel very good. I don't feel very good. Oh my God, hilarious. It's all I can say because I don't even know I'm doing it. But my friend's like, you've been singing The Gambler for like 2 days. I don't know. It must soothe me or something.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh.
So what are we talking about today?
Herbs. What are we talking about? I thought we'd talk about like all the different ways. Like a lot of people think herbal medicine and they only think of like certain things, like maybe echinacea or dandelion, but there's so many different ways we can use plants because I've been going back and doing a lot of herbal infusions for myself. Like these past couple of years, I'm kind of going back to my beginnings and my roots, and then I use all the Chinese herbs, but you use the gemotherapies and,
I use a lot of different methods and hold on. What is happening? Oh, I'm sorry. Something's happened. My computer's taking over. Okay. Now we're okay. Hold on. What is that? Okay. Where can you see me?
Yeah. Yep. We can see and hear you.
Hold on.
Mercury's retrograde.
Okay, it's back. Evernote took over. Let me shut that down. I don't know what was happening. Something to do with Evernote. I thought I lost you guys. Okay, I'm back now. So, we were is this being recorded? Oh, yes, it is. So we were talking about what? Do you know Sage Poppin?
No.
Okay, so he's a mentor of mine. Anyways, I was listening to one of his Q&As yesterday while I was working, and he made a really cool point about all the different methods in which to take in plants into your body, right? And he was talking about scientific evidence versus anecdotal evidence. And what was weird about it is that's what I was writing about when I turned on his Q&A. So it was like, hey, we are on the same gel. And but he was talking about how, like a lot of scientific evidence is based on isolates of plants. And then that body of evidence is blanketed on to the whole plant itself when it actually has hardly anything to do with it,
Exactly. There's so many things of that. Like somebody will say, well, you can't give them this herb because it does this specific thing. And I'm like, well, no, it doesn't. It really kind of modulates it and does this and this and this too.
Yeah.
I run into that a lot.
Like milk thistle, right?
Yeah.
Got some milk thistle in here. This one's got yellow dock, milk thistle, celery, carrot. I always try to start out with something in the morning, but like milk thistle, I had this conversation yesterday with someone on Facebook. They said, I told them, you should probably add like powdered milk thistle or a tincture of milk thistle to your dog's regimen for a while and make sure it's milk thistle seed and not the isolate. And because a lot of milk thistle is just the isolate of silymarin, right? So they said
like
they were
Denamarin. That Denamarin is just an isolate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were using Adored Beast liver tonic, right? Which is very popular. But I explained to them, I said, you know, that's a water-based extraction of milk thistle, which does not extract that well in water. You know, you're just getting those water-based constituents of the milk thistle. And I said, so you could give that, I said, kind of think of it as a co-star of that formula. The stars of that formula are the water-based infusions of barberry and greater celadon. So they're like, but why would you give extra milk thistle? I said, because it's completely different than what's in that formula. So, I mean, you know, it depends on infusions and decoctions, and like, you know, scientific evidence is barely ever going to be based on infusions or decocting something, you know, because you can't depend on the potency of that over and over again, you know. So scientific evidence has a really hard time relating to what we do as traditional herbalists. So yeah, it's fascinating. But
well, and then you get into and then, you know, I take it a step further, and this is kind of what I'm doing, Rita. I like to push the envelope, and that's why I just want to have these open conversations where you have the scientific and the isolates, and they're doing this with CBD, but then you get on to the opposite end of the spectrum where you're actually dealing with the spirit of that plant and developing a relationship with that plant. So I've been doing like a lot of plant dietas where I do know Jen Costa. She's up in upstate New York, but she does this really great programs where we're just taking for like 4 weeks one plant and taking it in a lot of different forms and literally working around the medicine wheel with that plant with all the directions, and then going in and doing journeys with the plant. So you're like developing an actual relation, you know, and I know Matthew Wood is very much into this, but like you're developing such a close personal relationship with that plant.
Well,
and then it opens up into this whole other world as well.
And you really get to know the plant. Like you can take like a couple plants a month by taking it in like all fashions, like as an infusion, as a tincture, as sitting with the plant and just being with the plant for hours, you know,
as the essential oil, just aromatherapy,
the whole thing. And then you'll really know that plant. Even if like someone recently took in they did like an entire dropper full of blue flag iris, and which is not advised ever. Yeah, and they were violently ill, and they got over, you know, but it will take your.
Was it a tincture of the iris?
They took an entire tincture, a dropper of blue flag iris, which is insane. They thought, well, you know, how can 3 drops actually work? It was a person, not a dog. I'm really grateful for that, but like they learned, but through that experience, they really got.
They went on a journey, I'm sure.
Flag does, right? Because it was like a proving. It did what it helps in small doses. In a large dose, it caused all that. And yeah, I mean, I think that going through the medicine wheel and going through the elements with the plant is a really excellent way to get to know it and to be with it and understand it, you know. My favorite
plants, they have so much to give us, you know, and it's like the more I go, and I've been working with plants, I mean 30 years, but it's like the more it's like you just keep going and going and going. That's what's so amazing about it, you know.
You'll never be finished ever.
Oh no. Yeah. What's your favorite you were gonna say?
Oh, I don't know. I can't remember what I was gonna say. I lost it. I'm a goldfish. I lost it.
That's the way it is. So so listing, just for people that might be listening that don't understand all the different ways of working with different plants. Why don't we go through them? Like infusions, which are like teas, and decoctions where you cook it down, but then you have tinctures.
So you have infusions, which is like a tea, but it depends on the herb itself, if it's good for an infusion, or if it needs cold water, like an herb like cleavers that's sensitive to heat. or marshmallow root. Like marshmallow root, you could do an infusion or a decoction. Decoctions are really good for roots and seeds and berries, things like that. And the cool thing about decoctions is usually you can decoct it about, 2 to 3 times and still get a very, a good brew. And then
That's
there's
how most
tinctures.
of the traditional Chinese medicines, they use decoctions, and they're like clay pot. Yeah. And so a lot of times some formulas I'll get from my practitioner that I go see will cook down the first one and they'll have me pour that out and then drink the second and the third. Sometimes you want to drink the first one and the second and third, but they've got all these different, but it comes out really thick, like mud almost.
Like Essiac. Essiac tea is really thick.
Yeah.
And then you have tinctures, and in the dog world, some people don't like tinctures, but I've been using alcoholic based tinctures on dogs for over 20 years, but I don't use a lot of medicine. That's the thing. Like I don't think in all the years that I've been practicing, I don't think I've ever used more than 30 drops on a dog for anything. And that was a very large dog. But I usually use between 1 and 8 drops. So probably twice a day. So, and that's, that's less alcohol than it's found in a ripe banana. So, and then if people are freaky about using tinctures, then really all you have to do is add powdered milk thistle to the diet while you're using the tincture, as milk thistle helps protect.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, it helps protect the liver.
Really worried. They worry so much about that, and yet the stuff that might be in their food or might be in that treat that they just gave them is so much worse.
What I found interesting is another and we can talk about this in a minute, but people worry about alcohol in tinctures, even small amounts, but they will pour an essential oil on their dog meat or put it in their body, and have no qualms against it. So it just depends on how I think the framework in which we conduct ourselves and how, like, I don't know what resonates with us, because there's certain constituents in alcohol-based tinctures that you can't get in a glycerate or in an infusion. And you need to use such small amount of medicine for an alcoholic tincture, and that I do like them. And then there's glycerates, which is a glycerin-based tincture, and that can be actually extracted in glycerin or extracted in water and preserved in glycerin. It just depends how people are doing it. There's a lot of herbs that don't extract well in glycerin whatsoever. There are a lot of them, like cleavers is really good at extracting glycerin because it has so much moisture.
I'm playing around with, I'm making my first glycerin extract because I'm growing all this Tulsi, and I had all these Tulsi flowering tops. So I just stuffed a jar full of those, and I had some glycerin here. So I'm going to try it out. But I started out using alcoholic tinctures primarily, and that's, I agree with you in terms of the medical potency and content.
Yeah, alcoholic tinctures are not for nutrition. They're not nutritional. They're not nutritive. They're not nourishing. They're strictly medicinal. Maybe milky oats. Milky oats might be, that might be an exception. But then there's glycerates, which are very popular with dogs, but too much of it can cause nausea, and it's in a lot of treats now. So you have to be careful with how much glycerin you're giving your dog.
So many treats, and it's like it's sugar. So I'll get these dogs with like the scabby, scaly yeast all around their lips, and I'm like, get out all your treats, and they'll be giving between molasses and glycerin. They're loaded,
glycerin in treats now to make them more pliable and stuff. And so you have to be careful on how much glycerin you're giving your dog. And then there are flower essences, which are absolutely lovely. I love them so much. I use them just every day. I love the vibrational plant medicine. Absolutely love it. Making Scotch broom flower essence today.
Cool.
And bleeding
So do
heart.
I mean, it's part of my, I have a huge cabinet full of my flower essences.
Me too. And
I've always got one going, you know, it's,
just absolutely love them. Then we have gemotherapy, which is a homeopathic version of what I would refer to as phytoembryonic therapy, even though it's kind of a part of it. Gemotherapy it's basically a 1 to 200 dilution of plant stems, tissues, young tissues, buds, germinating seeds, embryonic barks. I absolutely adore these types of remedies. I'm coming out with a training in a couple of months for them. And then I use a lot of mother tinctures of bud medicine. So those I refer to as phytoembryonics. They're of course a lot less medicine, but they have so many trace nutrients. They have lots of vitamins and minerals, lots of flavonoids and carotenoids and antioxidants benefits. And the one thing I love about plant bud medicine and the young tissues and seeds and things like that is that they can be used long term. Like for instance, horsetail.
You can't
phytoembryonic. You can't use regular horsetail for a long time, but you can use the phytoembryonic for a long time. And they complement each other. So I mix them with mature plants.
You know,
so
my Taoist teacher always said that that if you want like the strongest, most potent energy and chi is in that like embryo state or in like the sprouting seed when the seed is just starting to sprout. And
it has everything for the mature plant, you know, but it also has all those stem cells and growth factors that are not found in the mature plant. And here's a cool thing about these remedies is because we are living in such a polluted environment, they don't have a chance to become polluted, which is another thing that I absolutely love. And what's crazy about the remedies is they don't have a chance to become polluted, but they are so good at getting rid of pollutants in your body.
Really?
Yeah, heavy metals,
cool.
CPs, lots of estrogen,
we need that.
Xenoestrogens, car exhaust, diesel. I was just going over some information with my students that I put together a while back, and I was just like, oh my God, like, oh, of course I don't know where it is.
Yeah, like sometimes you forget all the little details and you go back and you're like, wow, but that's awesome.
I mean, they're so really good at detoxification.
And yet they're nourishing. That's what I worry. Like there's so much detox can be so stripping of the body, but I like things that can remove that stuff, but then nourish the body at the same time.
Yeah. And detoxification needs to go slow. People try to detox their dogs way too quickly. And they do it without binders. They do it without binders. So you get circulating toxins, and then you get lipomas. And so I think that, people need to be careful when they're detoxing their dog. It's slow and steady wins the race. It didn't happen overnight. And then, it's not going to detox overnight. And we want to be careful that we're not stimulating that phase 1 detoxification to produce even more free radicals,
Exactly.
And
well, it's like, it's interesting because I'm finding a lot of discussion now, and I'm just starting to look into mistletoe, but it's so funny because mistletoe, part of it is you want to stimulate the inflammatory response and the cytokine response, but you don't want to do it too much or you're going to go the opposite way and kill the body. It's like with COVID, with the cytokine storm filling up the lungs with all that inflammatory cells. But it's the same thing with detoxing. You can detox so much, you get all these free radicals. Then that's when you see the like healing crises issues and things like that come up, where the dogs are actually really sick. They're overloaded.
And it's just too much too soon, you know what I mean? And so I think that it's really important to know your different forms of medicine, and there's some things that people just aren't even aware of that that can help detox the body. Like here, an interesting one that I've been working with lately is organic corn seeds, germinating seeds.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're filled with trace minerals. They're filled with like vitamin A, B1, B2, like all the B vitamins, calcium, choline. Well,
there's a reason corn was a sacred plant. It's a sacred plant for the Hopi. And it's kind of like corn, rice, and wheat are these like humanity's lived on those, you know, before they got genetically screwed up, you know.
Well, and what's interesting is the germinating seeds, when you make a phytoembryonic out of them, they help detox like xenoestrogens, they help get rid of pesticides and fertilizers. But it works with the musculoskeletal system. It helps bring down inflammation in the gastrointestinal system. It can help get rid of H. pylori. It really helps dogs and people that are kind of low in vitamin D. It helps your body absorb vitamin D better. It's really great. And you mentioned mistletoe. The gemotherapy of the mistletoe is fantastic, Josie. Just fantastic.
Wow. I've got it. Maybe I need to take your course that's coming up on that, because I just really don't know anything about them. That's why I haven't delved into them yet. But
well, that'll come out probably by August, and it's a work at your own pace course on all of the remedies.
Just check them out. That germinated corn seed, that fascinates me, because there's a lot behind corn.
And there's a lot of research coming out of Italy on the phytoembryonics, much more so than research done on regular plants.
That's a pure form of the plant, like you said too. It's before it's been exposed to a lot of stuff, and it's that pure almost.
It's lovely. And then there's a company that I work with called Nature Provides, and they make phytoembryonics, but they're all spagyrics.
That's what, as you were talking about having these vitamins and minerals, I'm thinking like, that sounds like a spagyric, you know?
They're all spagyric. They're spagyrically made, which I love. Like I can make my own phytoembryonics, but they're not going to be spagyrically made because I don't have what that takes.
Laboratory.
I don't have what that takes.
Newbie question. What's spagyrics? Could you explain that term?
So a spagyric is an alchemical preparation of a plant. It's burned down alchemically until you get the plant's salts, which they believe is the spirit of the plant. And so basically on a regular tincture, you have the mark, which is what let's just use nettles. So you got your jar full of nettle leaf, and then you've got your menstruum, which is your whatever type of alcohol you want to use. Normally you're going to decant that. You're going to take the leaves out, and you're going to press out the alcohol and save the alcohol as your remedy. Well, in spagyrics, they take the plant matter and they put it in a pot, basically, sort of, kind of, I don't know. It's a special pot. And then you put it in a fire and you burn that down, and they do it like probably 2 to 3 times until you get what is the salts of that material. And then those salts they're put back. Yeah, the ash. They're put back into the tincture. Wow. So it's an entire embodiment of the plant, and it's an alchemical preparation. It has its
The
basis.
CBD I've been using for a long time is a spagyric extract of CBD from the small company Radical Roots, and I really like it. But
yeah, that's Radical Roots.
Yeah, Radical Roots. This woman, she's an acupuncturist. She started it, but yeah, it's a spagyric extract. But she also they grow their plants biodynamically on a biodynamic farm in Colorado. Yeah, which is also really nice. The guy
so that's another, that biodynamics is another layer of plant medicine that, you know, it's like way beyond organic, biodynamic. And I did want to mention that if you don't know who Seja is, it's evolutionary herbalism, but he has an entire line of tinctures that are all spagyrics. Yeah, so he has an entire plant medicine company.
How do you spell his name?
Sajah. He's for people what I'm to dogs.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Yeah, his name's Sajah Popham, but they he has an entire spagyric line that is just lovely.
Awesome. Oh, nice.
He teaches you know, he teaches spagyric plant medicine.
Oh, so, cool. Yeah, I'll just come out then.
Yeah, I wish I had more time in the world. I would totally dive into that, but I just don't, not right now.
I know. And then there's the essential oil realm.
Then there's the essential oil realm, which is a complicated subject.
Yes.
And there's so many different opinions on it. For me, I mean, a lot of people have gotten mad at me about my opinion on a lot of essential oils. But they're just misunderstanding. I think sometimes they want everything to be so black and white. And
exactly.
They want the exact answer of what should happen, but things are not black and white. And for herbal medicine, as an herbalist,
definitely not black and white.
And it's the strongest form of herbal medicine. And a lot of people who practice with essential oils, they don't really understand just how many plants went into that little bottle of oil. And if they sat with that amount of plants, they'd freak out. They'd be like, what? Like, yeah, I mean, you know, to make, let's just say, I don't know, 4 ounces of peppermint essential oil could fill my office.
Yeah, in a room.
Fill my office. Like, I wouldn't be able to breathe. Like, you know, so it's, it's interesting. I mean, you know, there's sustainability issues with essential oils. And there's also, let me show you this.
Yeah, the essential oils, as I've worked with more and more vibrational essences, and as if you work with all these others, I've found that my sensitivity to essential oils, it's like I just want to open that bottle and just like waft it a little bit, and then I'm good. You know?
And that's what I'm saying. Like,
I had a case, and this just proved to me, because I've done a lot of work with Carolyn, and after I worked with Carolyn Ingraham, especially nowadays, I'm just like, when I come across a patient doused in essential oils, I tell people, I say, you can't put them on like this if I'm going to come do acupuncture, because if I'm sitting there with that dog in my lap and my nose is burning from the amount of oils on that dog,
can you imagine what the dog
think
feels
about
like?
that poor dog. I mean, I've sat there and my eyes will start running from all of the essential oils. But I had a case of a golden doodle who came. He's a very special dog. He's this woman's soul dog. She's part of my group Reverence, Jackie Hassine's dog. But he came down with anal adenocarcinoma. And I found it because he'd been scooting, and I sent her right into a regular vet. Well, they did surgery to debulk it, but it's just a really aggressive form of cancer, and it's around the anus. She didn't want to put the dog through chemo. It was just, he's a very sensitive soul. She just didn't even want to go that route. And the dog wouldn't let me put needles in him. and it was almost nearly impossible to get any kind of capsules or any kind of anything down him. And so I was like, let me try. We tried all these different things, and I'm like, let me just go get my my Zoom applied zoopharmacogamy, my oil kit, and let me just try treating him with that. I treated that dog for a year, letting him self-select oils. At the end, he let me do a little bit of moxa on him. I would take him out in the yard and I would just use moxa, very little, because he'd respond really quickly. And a year later, she went back to her oncologist for a checkup. And the oncologist came into the room a second time and was like, I think we have the wrong dog here, because they couldn't find it. And the dog had lived for 12 months past their due date. So the oncologist literally didn't believe that
thought it was the wrong dog. And and I tell people, essential oils are wonderful when you need a hammer.
And I mean, that the only thing this dog received was self-selecting essential oils and some moxa, so yeah. And I mean, both of us, but she was the type of person, she was like, really wanted to honor his wishes. And there's something about that too, is honoring that animal. And he knew what he wanted and needed. And so, yeah. But absolutely. That's how powerful they are, the oils.
They're super powerful. And the thing is that, I mean, they're super powerful, and I definitely have used them in cancer cases successfully. I've used them, for breathing issues successfully. In fact, I made an essential oil blend for my late partner. It was the only thing that wouldn't let her breathe. I'd put just a little drop on her feet, and within seconds, she could breathe. She had cancer in her lungs. So, she could breathe. And, but they, they can be a hammer. But do you need a hammer on a daily basis? And also they're so strong, and they're that type of medicine that, yes, they are so strong that your animals can self-select them. And, if you're using an essential oil that your dog gets up and runs from the room consistently, do not put that oil on them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And also exactly. I tell people, and this is the same with herbs. So, and I have a problem with like certain formulas that are, let's just say they're internal flea and tick powder, right? Well, you can't say to an herb, okay, herb, I want you to go into that body, and I only want you to deter fleas and ticks. I don't want you to affect the body in any way. I don't want you to affect the liver. You're just there for fleas and ticks. You can't do that. And you can't do that with essential oils. If you want to diffuse essential oils every day, you're giving your entire family a medicinal treatment.
Yes.
They're not to make the air smell better. Well, I'm cleaning the air. I'm cleaning the air. You're doing more than cleaning the air.
Yeah.
So, like this little, here's some helichrysum. Okay. Do you see how tiny that is?
Yeah.
Hey, I've had this for years. And every now and then I smell it because it really helps me. But this is how much I purchased, and I have never used. I mean, it is almost completely full. And, there's sustainability issues with a lot of the plants. No, there's no issue. There's no issue with rosemary or peppermint or lavender. These are aromatic plants that are plentiful. We can grow them. I don't know if you know who Jade Schutz is.
Yeah.
She runs the New York Institute of Aromatherapy, and she just bought this huge piece of land to preserve it and make essential oils. She makes a lot of her own essential oils. I really love her work. And then there's David Crow of Floricopia.
Yeah.
Amazing. Kathy Skipper and her husband, Florian. If you don't know who they are magical people. Just magical people. They work with, and this is how powerful these remedies are. They work with ancestral DNA. They work with trauma healing. Essential oils are fantastic for rescue dogs. They're fantastic for trauma. They can release trauma. They can go back generations and release trauma
And
in our
maybe
DNA.
that's part of why their popularity has become so big, because I always think like why are these plants, certain things, stepping forward so strongly now, you know?
Like
And I
invasive
think,
medicine as well.
yeah, the invasive,
Kind of
yeah,
like invasive
invasive
stuff.
medicine. Exactly, because we are, I think we're the ancestral stuff and the trauma is just kind of piling up. It's like the dam is breaking
And
because
it's a good way to look at. I mean, it's a good way to look at it. It's just it's just that people. Here's the thing. So using essential oils is learning an entire form of medicine.
Oh yeah.
And there's a lot of people that are learning that form of medicine in a weekend.
Yeah.
You know, like in a weekend class, and now they're a master aromatherapist. And most aromatherapists, true aromatherapists, have, you know, 200 to 800 hours of training and at least 200 hours of chemistry training, because
the chemistry is insane around it. You know, I just sitting through Carolyn Ingram's class, the chemistry, her son is a biochemist, and he was the one who kind of delves into the biochemistry behind all these things. But you get into that and it's like, you know, I loved biochemistry, but it's a whole nother, most people can't even go there. They don't even know what they're.
And the reason why the chemistry is so important is because essential oils are an isolate of the plant. You don't have all the other stuff that mitigates their. Yes, they can have side effects. They're super powerful. They can hurt your kidneys. You know, they can hurt your kidneys when you take them, like people who put essential oils in their water and stuff and just drink it. Water does not.
And taking it orally. And I had a vet. I was with a group of TCM practitioners, and this vet was like, "Oh, I just want to be able to put them ID into the." And I'm like, "What are you? Do you want to burn out the walls of your vein? You know, like burn holes in it?" What are you talking about?
No. So yeah, I mean,
I got up at this banquet table, like there was there's a long conference table, and when I heard that, I stood up. I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, I just couldn't. There's a certain line that's drawn, and I'm like, don't do no harm. First, do no harm.
Yeah,
you know?
And you know, that makes a huge point, Josie. Do no harm, right? I always talk about safety. You know, and like these are vulnerable beings. They're vulnerable beings, and we're putting all of these things all over them, or diffusing every day. I just had a client that I had to tell, you have to stop diffusing daily. I don't want, and she was diffusing, you know, citrus, non-organic, cold pressed citrus oil. Like, wow. So you are burning pesticides in your house because, you know, you shouldn't use non-organic essential oils ever. No. Because they're cold, most of them are cold pressed.
Well, we would never think of, you know, and like we go back to the tinctures where people are so concerned about the alcohol. We would never think of using the tinctures at the concentration that we're using those essential oils ever, you know?
And I just don't think people understand the concentration. But going back to your dog with the anal carcinoma, cancer is an excellent way to use essential oils. When, you know, I mean, I've used them for bronchitis. I've used it for kennel cough, things that need concentrated medicine that you can self-select because they are so powerful. And because, you know, you could open this little helichrysum, right? You know, 2-3 buildings over, your dog knows that you opened that container, and that's how powerful they are. So when they get up and leave the room, they don't know what they're talking about. I'm going to give it to them anyways. Don't do that. These are for, I mean, if anything is going to be self-selected, because our dogs are so domesticated. So, you know, other self-selections, I don't know, you know, it depends on the dog, but like, you know, my pugs will literally eat anything. I don't care what you put in front of them. They'll do it. You know, maybe not the wolf hybrid down the road, but my pug or my Boston Terrier or my bulldog, they're so domesticated and so overbred that, you know, I don't
And even their sensory, I think I talked about that with Carolyn, because of their smashed in noses, and like you say, a wolf hybrid with their longer nose, even their sensory smell, it's like, it's almost closer to their brain, but they don't maybe have the same.
Yeah.
And the domestication, it does change things. It really does.
I mean, we've really, dog breeding has been the biggest experiment we've ever done. And I don't think it's worked out that well, but,
well, you've seen the more recent things about pugs. I think Rodney had something up about the short lifespan with pugs.
Well, I have to say that, one of the things I take issue with, not with Rodney, but with those types of research, is a lot of the research is done on dogs that were completely kibble fed absolute crap. Like,
and vaccinated and
highly vaccinated and boot and wormed and doxied and steroid, and and the thing is like when I was in Nashville, we met another pug along the way, and the pug was 7, and it was just completely white-faced. It looked like it was 16, 17 years old, maybe 18.
Oh my
and it was
God.
7. And I almost put my foot in my mouth because I love elderly dogs. I just love elderly dogs. And I almost said, oh God, look at, he's a little senior. Oh, look at it. But something told me to shut up. And I'm like, how old is, how like when your gut tells you to shut up? I'm like, how old is your dog? And he's like, oh, she's 7. And I thought, and had a long conversation with them. Turns out he was eating Beneful, which, has plastic and propylene glycol in it.
Yeah, I'm like, is that even food?
It's not, and, turns out, he's, we go, I'm like, oh, we're just sitting there talking, and what vet do you see in town? And, fully vaccinated, every year, goes to daycare. So we know that it has the parvo distemper. It's got everything going on. And
God knows what it's taking for,
that's what it looks like too, so, I'd love to see research done on dogs that are naturally reared from, from birth, even if it's just even one.
Well, I've got, my own dog, she's 12 years old now. She's 50% German Shepherd, the rest Husky with a little bit of Chow. But when she came up lame like 4 years ago. And so I took her in and got her x-rayed. She came out of a shelter at 3 years old, but her hips are atrocious. The vet I took her to came out with tears in her eyes as how bad this dog's hips are. Rita, she's still jumping in the back of my Forerunner. I mean, I knock wood every day, but I've got her on pure raw. I've got her, she has not had a single vaccine or anything since I've had her. And I've got her on collagen. I've got her on Chinese herbs and a joint supplement. And that's pretty much it. And walking and exercising, I keep her moving, but it's just, they can have these issues and even have genetic issues, but if you're given the right nourishment and support, you can get them through a lot longer, a whole lot longer.
Well, yeah. And it really is true that you are what you eat, like the microbiome, like if you, and this, like bacteria are some of the most amazing things on the planet, because you can take a petri dish of bacteria and you can change its environment, its food source, and the bacteria will go from commensal, which is good bacteria, to pathogenic bacteria if it is fed processed crap, and so
and sugar, just throw some sugar in there.
Just throw sugar in there. Beneful's got sugar. I think it's like the 3rd ingredient. But like, so you give your dogs milk bones and Beneful, you're going to have a bacterium that reflects what they're eating, and it's going to cause excessive aging and free radicals, and the dog's not getting any really healthy antioxidants to combat that free radicals. And can you imagine what the liver's doing all day long? Processed Beneful.
Oh yeah.
I mean, phase 1 is going to be going super fast, while phase 2 is going, I can't keep up. I can't keep up.
So you get just sludge. That's where you get, I in my like intuitively, I just see these livers. It's like a car that hasn't had its oil changed. in decades, and the liver is just sludge. You can't even move. And that's the, in Chinese medicine, the liver is the seat of the soul. So what it does, it just slogs the whole being down,
The liver is everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it literally is everything.
Yeah.
It's, it messes with, it governs circulatory. It's definitely the seat of the lymphatic system. It is the GI system.
Like the smooth flow of chi throughout the whole body, so you're talking your tendons and ligaments and the whole musculoskeletal as well.
Yeah.
So,
and it's
but this is why I love to, this is why I love to talk to you, because I think people need to see, we need to get away from this black and white world, because there's so much
black and white.
There's so much in between the black and the white,
Yeah, but people want black and white. They want it to be black and white, and it's not. Well,
it's like they want to, that goes back to the whole thing of like, just take a pill and make everything better. Here's your prescription, and just take this pill and go home and everything's going to be okay. And we know it's not. So
no, dogs are individuals. I say it 24/7, 7 days a week. You're an ecosystem, they're individuals, and with individual care takes a little more thinking and a little more work, but it is truly where healing takes place. Getting to know your dog as an individual, getting to know yourself as an individual, what works for one person. I love this smoothie. I feel very healthy when I eat it, but if I give it to my partner,
it's not gonna work, right?
It's good for my partner. They're an individual. This is not for them.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I love going through the seasons too, because I think we need to come back and figure out what we as an individual, our inner ecosystem, but that inner ecosystem is a reflection of the outer ecosystem. So just by paying attention to our own inner world and the inner world of our animals, it's going to start reflecting to the outer. You're going to start making different choices in what you eat, what farmers you support, where your energy is going, and it's going to go out in waves to change everything.
Absolutely. And seasonal care and seasonal healing is another conversation, but going to the seasons and getting back into the natural rhythm of our biodiversity is a super great way to heal ourselves consistently. Like I'm writing this book called The Seasonal Dog. So it just, in the spring, you deal with the liver.
Yep.
You deal with the liver, you deal with your tendons, your ligaments, you wake up the kidneys.
You got to get the body lubricated and warmed up.
You got to get it going, and then you go into the heart and circulatory system in the summer, and then you go into the large intestine and the lungs, and then you go into the winter for the kidneys, and basically what I've been doing with my dogs is I literally relate to them like they are ill in those seasonal moments. And then we have seasonal foods, we have seasonal herbs, we support the liver. We, in the spring, right now, we're supporting the liver. We're going into June. We're going to start supporting heat and the circulatory system and the heart with hawthorn. And so
it's a wonderful thing to do. That's what I did with my online group, and we used vibrational essences, but I combined gemstone elixirs with herbs as well, which was really nice. But yeah, it's so important. And you start getting, what was cool to see, some people they'll actually be like, wow, I'm like realizing this and this and this, and it just starts opening up this whole other world to people.
It does, and it also helps you. Like, we're not only helping our dogs, but because I think that
you do it alongside your dog.
Yeah. And as people, we want to be back in nature, whether we know it or not. Even if you're one of those people that loves the city so much, you're like, oh, I get your being needs that cyclical health and that attention seasonally. And it gets you back in that natural rhythm that we have been lacking. And it shows that we've been lacking it, you know. You
Oh,
start
yeah,
to understand nature better.
To look very far, you know. And then, and again, it's like when you start living like that, you start realizing your body becomes more sensitive to the toxins and stuff. So you're like, instead of going for that donut or that whatever, or pulling through the drive-through, you're like, you look at it and you're like, I can't even eat that, you know.
No, I can't eat that.
Yeah.
No, totally. So it's could talk about this all day.
I know. I know.
So I'm curious, Rita, like, you know, you say we're in like spring now. So what are you having in your smoothie? Do you change it with seasonal?
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So what are you what's your
this is my liver smoothie. This is my liver smoothie. So it has yellow dock, which is really good for the liver and gastrointestinal system. For someone who's warm, I'm warm. You know, I have to regulate the heat in my body, and we're coming into summer and I definitely can feel it. You know, I'm very sensitive to heat. This has yellow dock and milk thistle in it. It has carrot and celery. Celery is very cooling. Sometimes I put cucumber in it. I also buy like concentrated organic cucumber powder. So I have a little more,
where did you get that? I'd love, because I've been doing a lot of like cucumber celery smoothies, because I was, you know, I'm on the tail end of coming through the menopause tunnel, but I was just like, need that yin moistening, cooling of the cucumber and the celery. But yeah, cucumber powder.
Yeah, organic cucumber powder.
I've got to look that up.
I have it downstairs. But that way I can get more cucumber in my smoothie. I'm just trying to, I definitely will make smoothies and try to get more nutrition in my my system versus how much I can eat, you know, or how much I can chew.
I agree.
So a smoothie, you know, this has no sugar in it. I mean, it has a cup of organic blueberries, so that has natural sugar. I don't put any honey or maple syrup or anything like that. And it has just like a teaspoon, no, not teaspoon, 2 teaspoons of almond butter, organic almond butter. And that gives me, I really love
it. I found is dates, like to throw a date or 2 in there, that kind of sweetens it. And
yeah, that can sweeten it too. So I don't like, some people's smoothies are full of sugar. I don't do that. I try not to eat any processed sugar.
I never add sugar to my smoothies.
So,
actually,
you're using like actual herbal plants when you blend them, or you talk about a yellow dog.
The milk thistle is a tincture.
Oh, okay.
Milk thistle tincture is awful. Okay, it is terrible.
It does not taste good.
It's so bitter. Yeah, it can make me like drool just even thinking about.
Yellow dock too. Yellow dock is
pretty rough too. So yellow dock is a powder in my smoothie, and it's a powdered root. And then I use a liquid milk thistle that I blend in there because I can't taste it, and I try to take some every morning.
What do you have a brand of milk thistle you like? Because I'm still like looking. Tincture
or organic Oregon's Wild Harvest.
Oregon's Wild Harvest.
But if it's a liquid, you mean like a liquid? The liquid, Herb Farm. I like Herb Farm. I've been to Herb Farm. They're just do a wonderful job. That farm is amazing. Well, I've been to their Oregon farm. I think they have one more, but I don't know if they have any. They have some outside of the United States, but their milk thistle is grown in Oregon. I also make my own, and then but no matter what, it's still gross. I mean, it's rough. That milk thistle tincture is rough. So I put it in my smoothie in the morning. And I love it. So and I can't taste it, which is even better.
You could also do dandelion.
Yellow dock is pretty harsh too, and that's why I put it in here. But I put a lot of carrot powder, organic carrot powder in my smoothie. I have a texture thing, so like when I make like fresh carrot, I do the carrot juice, but I can't eat the fiber, and this way I'm getting the fiber as well. So I really like the couple powders and stuff. And then you just have to drink it faster. You can't take hours to drink it. Otherwise it gets a little sludgy.
Yeah.
Then I go back and zip it up again. But it's a really great way to get nutrition into your body that's pre-digested and just up in that nutrient panel. And
then I figure with a smoothie in the morning, you can have a couple servings of fruit and your servings of vegetable and your herbs, and you're good to go for the day.
And you're good to go. And I take my supplements with my smoothie. So I have some supplements I take, and I take them with my smoothie. It's so easy to take a pill when you're taking it with for something a little thicker.
Yeah.
So.
Right. So this is like your spring, summer, helping
this is
you
my,
to cool
my
down.
liver smoothie.
Your liver smoothie. Wow.
Yeah, definitely my liver smoothie. And then at the
You
middle of June,
dandelion in there too. I've been putting dandelion greens in mine for wood.
So when we move into the next season, what would you be putting in?
Well, I'm definitely going to be putting in hawthorn. And I definitely would be putting in watermelon seeds. I love watermelon.
Why?
They're super nutritional and cooling. They're a refrigerant. So they're super cold. And I am super hot. As far as when in the summer, I sweat and it's like I'm uncomfortable. I'm not into anything over 80 degrees at all. And celery and cucumber. I really like.
What about something for the humidity? We've got the humidity just rolled into town down here.
Yeah, I live in Singapore. I live in the tropics. It's humid and hot.
I get so bogged down with that dampness, and I see it in the animals too. I mean, it's so heavy you almost feel like you can't breathe the air in.
I like yarrow.
Yarrow?
Yarrow.
Yeah, I love yarrow.
I'm growing some yarrow in a pot.
Yeah, yarrow for white yarrow for remember not to use the pink yarrow because it's not medicinal, which is weird, but it's true. White yarrow helps balance everything. It helps balance dampness. I love yarrow. The good thing is that a lot of herbs are drying in the long term. So a lot of them work with dampness, but dampness is such a problem with dogs now. 9 out of 10 dogs are damp. And it's because, steroids, antibiotics, different pharmaceuticals, flea and tick medicines, they all cause dampness, all of them. So a lot of dogs are damp. Even dogs that are dry, a lot of it will come from dampness, even though they look dry, but they're really damp. Yeah. But yarrow is very balancing. It's cooling and warming. It really is one of those. It's a warrior plant, Josie, you're into plant spirit medicine. Yarrow is one of the plants that other plants use to communicate. It's just an amazing. It kind of goes into the body and knows what you need, and does it.
That's probably why I just got a yarrow plant like about 6 weeks ago, and I've been growing it out here. So I haven't worked with yarrow much, but that's
I highly recommend. I highly recommend working with yarrow. It is just, God, it blows me away at the diversity of the plant and what it does, because it can be warming to someone that is cool, but it can be cooling to someone who is warm. And and I think, sometimes I think hawthorn's a lot like that.
Hawthorn is balancing, with the blood pressure and things. It can, I find it that way.
Let's see some other herbs for dampness. So, I'm just thinking, it depends on, you want cool and dry or warm and dry, but like blue vervain, a very, very small amount is needed. I use it as a tincture, like 1 to 3 drops is pretty much, that's nice. And
that grows down here. That grows down here.
Blue vervain, the hastata or the officinalis, either one is cold and dry. So slightly drying. Again, I use a tincture. You can use a glycerate. Dandelions are very drying. So, you know, they can help dampness amazing. And then they're bitter, right? So it's going to help with the liver. They're only slightly cooling. So I think dandelions, a lot of people can use them. Different types of dogs can use them. Of course, yarrow, we talked about yarrow. Nettles.
Nettles. Yeah, I love nettles.
Nettles are also another balancing plant because they give you a lot of nourishment and moisture in the spring. But as you use them throughout the season, I stop using nettles in the summer. Because
so did I found that my body, I was using them last spring. I felt like I really needed that tonifying and that blood tonic thing. And then I tapered off. It was like, I don't want any more of them for a while.
Right.
And it was summer.
Yeah, I don't use them in summer. I use them in winter and spring. I love them for winter and spring. I love using the seed in winter. And, you know, there's again, seasonal healing. Okay. So the seed comes out right at towards the end of fall. Perfect for that kidney season. Nettle seed is in my opinion, the most perfect kidney remedy there is. It's neutral. It can help. It's a tropo restorative. It can help restore the kidney. I think it can help if you give nettle seed during the winter. It really helps to avoid CCL tears.
Yeah, because it's also like just nourishing too.
It is so nourishing, and you can use it as a tincture and just, you know, nettle seed 1 to 4 drops is your max. You don't need any more than that. Or you can use it as just the dried seed. You know, we dry a big bucket of seed every year, and it's labor intensive, but it doesn't matter. It's just absolutely beautiful. And then you can make the gemo or the phytotherapy out of the nettle flower before it turns into seed. And that's a really short window.
I don't have any nettles. Nettles don't grow down here, and dandelions don't grow down here. So I'm like so jealous.
You should grow one in a pot. You should grow it in a pot. All you have to do is
I have a dandelion growing, but I do have some nettle seed, and maybe I'll try planting it but it would have to grow over the winter.
I'll send you a little nettle plant in the mail. Yeah. Little baby next year. I'll send you a baby nettle plant. We have an entire forest of nettles here.
I'm sure you do.
Another remedy that I absolutely love is the Scutellaria latifloria, the kind of like Western skullcap. You know, there's Bacladensis, which is not interchangeable. But the latifloria, it's cooling to neutral, and it's bitter and it's drying. It's wonderful for dampness, but the things that are endemic in our dogs right now is they're taking on our stressed out vibration from the pandemic. It helps nourish the nervous system. So here you again have that kind of yarrow paradigm where you have a plant that is drying, but it's nourishing to the nervous system, you know,
and that's Scutellaria. Which one is that? Scutellaria
latifloria.
Catafloria?
Latifloria, LAT. So it's just regular skullcap, and then there's the Chinese skullcap, which is the black Bacladensis or lensis.
Okay, so this is okay. I understand what you're saying. Okay.
I think that skullcap is a really underused herb that just is fantastic, and it does work like yarrow and like burdock root. Burdock root can be drying, but it focuses on how the body uses fats and oils. So it's
burdock is
nourishing.
So powerful. It was one of my very first herbal allies way back when I was like 20 years old. I was out digging these burdock roots on my grandfather's ranch, and
huge suckers.
Oh my God. They go all the way down, man. You want to talk about a taproot. Yeah.
I grow them in garden bags so that I can actually get the root will grow it like
around the bag.
Yeah. So I can actually get them out of the bag versus
wow. Yeah, digging them is so it's like you're digging to China when you try to dig them up. I'm gonna try growing some burdock.
Grow them in the felt bag. Grow them in the felt bag.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I do have a comfrey plant out here too growing. There's the farm
we have
that
them
I
all over the yard. They're so beautiful.
Oh yeah, the farm I go to, they've got these huge, and the flowers on them are gorgeous.
They're so beautiful, and the bees love them so much.
And then they're a good composting plant because they concentrate the minerals in the leaves. They're using them down at the farm for their compost bins, which I thought was interesting.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. And they're like, oh yeah, we just take, they're too scared to use it as an herb because of the whole thing with the liver that came out, you know? And so they're like, yeah, we put them in the compost bin. I'm like, this is all this good medicine, but okay.
Well, and I love the flower essence so much.
Oh yeah, that's why I wanted to.
Trauma. It's so good for trauma. Oh my God.
For trauma, really. Okay.
Oh yeah, no, it is a journey plant, a flower essence.
Okay.
It is so good for trauma. I like to mix it with borage.
With borage?
With borage flower essence. It is so good for trauma. It helps that trauma. Like I had a client that lost a dog. There was trauma about the dog, but the dog brought up the childhood trauma, right? And comfrey was such an ally on that one. It took about 3 to 4 months, and it just moved through that trauma. And what I love about flower essences is, so, you know, sometimes it will bring up so that you physically feel it, but other times it will help you move through it without such an earthquake in your body. You know, it will help move that trauma.
Like gentler. Yeah, it might bring it up, but in a really gentle way. Well, when I kept seeing these comfrey plants blooming, and I was going to ask him, the first thing in my head was like, I have to make a flower essence out of these flowers. I was going to ask him to do that. And then I'm like, I'm just growing my own here, you know? So yeah. Yeah.
Well, I tell you, the comfrey flower essence is just lovely. And I love comfrey as an ointment. I love it as an infused oil. I use the leaf a little. I don't use it a ton on dogs unless we need a hammer. It's good for pain and inflammation. I just don't tend to use it all that much because there's so many other things that I don't have to worry about the alkaloids with. But if you make a nice water infusion with comfrey, you're safe. You know, I tell people alkaloids love alcohol. You know, they don't love water. Yes, it'll be low in alkaloids, but you'll have some of the alkaloids, but they love alcohol. And that's where you get in trouble with comfrey is when you put it in alcohol.
Well, and it's good for bones.
Newbie question here. What are alkaloids?
They're a constituent that can harm the liver.
They're
very wonderful and they're very healing. They're, you know, they're wonderful.
Yeah. Alkaloids are one, it's like they divide up the different chemicals, the phytochemicals in plants, and alkaloids are one like type of phytochemical that's in a plant, but they're very potent and they extract out in alcohol versus you'll get, like she said, a little bit in water, but you'll get a lot of alkaloids out in the plant. But like if
so
they're
like a water infusion will be quite safe then in that sense.
Safer.
A lot safer, but like, you know, Oregon grapefruit, wonderful alcoholic tincture, high in alkaloids. You just don't use it for more than like 14 days at a time. But in 14 days, Oregon grapefruit can, oh my God, it can transform. So, you know, it just depends. Comfrey has a much higher level of alkaloids than Oregon grape. But again, if you're using it with dogs, I just use a leaf water extraction. But and also, I don't know. I mean, I love the homeopathic symphytum. I mean, I love the
symphytum. Yeah, exactly.
I love the homeopathic comfrey. I think it works fantastic. So I just don't use the plant internally that much because I'll just use like a 200 or a 30C comfrey, even a 6X. So like,
good for healing bones.
It'll immensely,
It'll heal bones together, fractures. That's why it's called symphytum.
They have to be in the right spot.
Well, yeah.
So what's cool is Josie, is what you use bone set Okay. So you use bone set to help bring the bones together in the right spot. And then later on, when they've knitted together, then you use the comfrey to just to make it 100%. And then I just use the homeopathic for that.
So there is a reason it's called bone set then. I mean, it's so funny because they did name these plants for a specific reason. But yeah. I have this old, this came up yesterday, but I have this old 1863 pharmacopoeia, United States pharmacopoeia. And it's so awesome because it's all herbs. It's before the drug companies and before pharmaceuticals. So you can go back and see like what they were, how they were using them and stuff. It's fascinating. But yeah, bone set's in there. Yeah.
I love bone set. So love comfrey. Love the flowers. I love borage. Borage is such a pretty plant. Like lobelia is such a beautiful plant.
Oh yeah, lobelia.
I don't use a lot of lobelia with animals, but with people I do. But what a beautiful ground cover and beautiful plant. It's so
it is.
So I mean, there's so many plants. I love
Wow. So when we say seasonally, when we go into like autumn and winter, what would you switch out? Like, what would you change in terms of your
I really love for myself, I really love plantain. I love mullein for my lungs and plantain for my large intestine, also for my lungs. Depending on how my lungs are feeling. I love marshmallow root. And it's nature depicts on what you should be using, like the mullein root, where the spine starts to dry out in the fall, and then you get all crickety in the winter time. You support the bones and the kidneys in the winter. I use a lot of nettle seed in the winter time as additives to my smoothie or to my dog's food. But I love marshmallow root. Right now I have, unfortunately, well, it's not unfortunately, but my dogs that I have right now are all cool. So I use it.
Need warming.
I like ginger root. They love ginger. It makes them feel good. I use moringa.
Moringa grows down here now. Like I'll go to some of my clients' houses and they'll just go off to the moringa tree and hand me a branch to take home of fresh moringa. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
I love moringa for my cool dogs. I also love reishi mushroom. That's a really great fall mushroom. I mean, it's just beautiful. It's slightly warming. It's nourishing. It's a grandma mushroom. It's a foundational immunity mushroom. I don't think it can be beat. And then for those really cold dogs, I love cordyceps because it's so warming and it just is so beneficial for the lungs.
Yeah. We journeyed with reishi last winter, so last fall.
Really, it's an amazing plant. It's an amazing.
It was cool too. Everybody reishi started showing up in everybody's gardens here. It's so cool because you call in the plant and then everybody starts seeing it all over the place. Maria had a little boy and he's still collecting reishi. He just started finding reishi mushrooms all over the place. So yeah,
that's cool.
It's fun.
But I love reishi in the fall. I mean, it's just if you go with seasonal, there's so many things like in the fall that are available that do exactly what you want. They nourish the large intestine, like the squashes that are available. They're all nourishing to the large intestine. The pumpkin, helps nourish the hormones and get things prepared for winter. It's just, there's all those things that depict what you're supposed to be doing. And that's why I love seasonal healing, because it takes the brains out of it. It takes the work out of it.
Exactly. It's like how everybody goes to the pumpkin patch to make jack-o'-lanterns, but it's like, eat it, eat your pumpkin pie.
And that's another thing is that doing seasonal work and seasonal healing keeps you from sensitivities as well, because, you know, blueberries aren't really supposed to be eaten all year long. Yes, they're nourishing, but when you eat something all year long, you're much more susceptible to become sensitive to it, because your body's been pre-programmed to eat seasonally. That's what we've always done. And now we have more access to food than we ever have in our entire lives. You know, of course, that's not globally. I get that. But I'm talking about in Western civilization, in industrial societies, we have more access to food than we've ever had in our life. And that, of course, is leading to overeating. It's leading to an epidemic of liver depletion, because we eat too much. Yes. We eat too much. People get offended. Lots of sugar. You eat too much and too often.
Yeah.
Not used to eating this much. Your organs need to rest. You know, people eat like at 10 o'clock before they go to bed. They'll eat a full dinner and then go to bed. And that's not how we used to live. And so our bodies are not as much. That's all I can say. We get exhausted.
It's funny you're talking about seasonal, because I was just talking about this to a friend of mine, and because I actually believe in seasonal eating for humans as well, you know, because traditionally rice, because I'm in Asia, right? So, you know, rice is like a staple. But the thing is, if we were to really go to like China and we did the agricultural, the old way of growing things, you know, like Korea or that, they only eat rice in autumn.
When they harvest it, right?
Yes. And
so you eat by now, the harvest.
Yes, but because of big agricultural, you know, farming, you get rice 24/7, 365. You know, like you were saying, like blueberries and all that. We shouldn't be doing that. And you know, I like, it really resonates with me, because I'm trying to eat seasonally, even though I live in the tropics where it's hot and humid all year round. But I'm actually trying to also, like, even like my vegetables, I pause like my smoothies. I actually will not take smoothies, like my raw vegetable blends, like every day, because I'll take it and then I stop, because I realize like I can't. I think my body will also like, no, I can't take too much. I need to rest, you know. But it's interesting you said that, you know. Well,
I mean, and rotation. Eating rice in fall, what does brown rice do? It nourishes the kidney. So you're going into winter and with a nourished kidney, you know, they're eating it in fall and probably early winter. And so you have that brown rice as a staple, and it is nourishing the kidney. I mean, I'm sure, Josie, I've used brown rice as an additive in the winter for some dogs that have really low kidney chi, and
or just making like congee. That's why I have them like overcook it, and making congee in Chinese medicine is a medicinal to just help them,
and use it for a short period of time. And then
it's not all the time, no, but
and so I mean, I think we can learn a lot from nature if we start paying attention again. You know, we have to start paying attention to it. It will tell us what to do. I love it. I love that.
Well, it's screaming at us now. It's just most people.
I love the fact that you talk about the seeds and sprouts and the life force within the seeds, you know, because I'm actually doing some urban farming in my, you know, I'm trying to be less black thumb and a little bit more like light green. And, you know, so I'm learning, like, you know, growing my own edibles. So I'm actually growing like microgreens, because where I stay, it's microgreens are easier for me because I don't get direct sunlight. But I actually harvest them and then I put them into my smoothie blends. I eat them raw, you know, as salads, but I actually also like mix them up and it tastes wonderful. My dog eats it as well, you know.
Well, I mean, you look at broccoli sprouts, you know, they have more sulfurane than mature broccoli. You know, Sprouts are amazing. I love sprouts. I love alfalfa sprouts. And here's the thing about alfalfa sprouts. Interesting fact. Alfalfa sprouts you can eat a lot of. Whereas if you eat a lot of mature organic alfalfa, it will upset your stomach and it will give dogs diarrhea. And people. So you can have a lot of greens and get all of those amino acids and B vitamins that alfalfa gives you without the tummy upset when you do the sprouts. Whereas if you take it into your body as a full-fledged herb, you should only, you have to find your dosage. Otherwise it can cause really bad stomach upset.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, even with
yeah.
alfalfa is rich. I mean, just from horses,
It is very rich.
It's a very rich green. Yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of people do, like I get people that my dog has chronic diarrhea. And I'm like, okay, let's look at your supplements. I'll tell you right now, dogs that have this weird, can't figure out chronic diarrhea, they're eating something with alfalfa in it. And usually it's like the second ingredient. And you take that out of the diet and the diarrhea is gone. And
what are they using it in dog supplements or something?
Yes.
Alfalfa?
Alfalfa. Oh. Yeah, alfalfa. And remember, most alfalfa is genetically modified unless it's organic.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that one either. But people need to understand that herbs can have side effects. They're not benign.
Definitely.
No, they're not benign. Don't underestimate them. Like, I think they're powerful. And if your dog's having an issue, the first thing to always look at is their food and what you're putting in them first, and then go to diagnostics and things like that, but always rule out what they're eating or putting in their body.
So, like I'm a say like a newbie pet parent, for instance, like, and I want to learn more about herbs, and what you've mentioned today, because it's like, whoa, that's a lot of, I have to replay this and write down, and probably get a dictionary as well to spell out the words. But what's a good like intro book, like on herbs that you would recommend?
An intro book. Well, that's a weird question. So like, there's like 100 of them, but like what angle are you looking for?
So say, okay,
are you
maybe not an intro, but say dogs. Okay, what's good for dogs, and then what's good for like humans, because I'm interested in the human side as well.
Well,
I have a bookshelf for books.
Yeah. So what's your favorite?
So my book's not out yet, but when my book comes out, it'll be my favorite. But number 2, Greg Tilford's book. What is it? I have both versions.
Greg Tilford from Animal Apothecary.
Yeah, for pets, right?
That's for pets. Yeah.
It's somewhere. Yeah, herbs for pets. I've got the big sucker down here, and then herbs for pets. He's got a little one and then a big one. But there isn't much on starter books for pets. And my issue with the ones that are on the market right now is that they don't give you that specifics on how to use it and when to use it and why. But for people, I definitely would start. I'd start with Matt Wood's book, The 2 Earthwise Herbals.
Matthew Wood is awesome. He was one of my first teachers too. He's
great. His 2 books, the Earthwise Herbal 1 and 2, they combine science, they combine story. It helps you understand the plant as a being, which I definitely love. So I think I would start there. Another book that I really love. Where is it? I love the 4 Paws, 5 Directions.
5 Directions. I was going to say Cheryl Schwartz. She taught with Matthew Wood. I got to go on these, like, hang out on the farm with the 2 of them. And
just wonderful when they teach together.
Yeah, they bounced off of each other so much.
But that's a great book. It's a great book about, you know, herbs and TCM and acupressure points. I just absolutely love that book. I've had it for, you know, since it came out, and it's really great. I'm just thinking
So it's
of it.
what, 4 points?
Four paws, 5 directions.
4 paws.
Oh, and this one.
5 directions. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's a classic. It should be on everything.
This is a new book.
Oh, I just got that. I've got that on my desk.
Yeah, it's good. It's not really anything I didn't know. However, it's all the things that I kind of love about herbalism in one book.
Exactly.
So it's a really, it's a really great book. It's Kat Meyer, Energetic Herbalism. I really do like the part in this book where she talks about how when you purchase a property, I don't know if you've read it so far, but when she talks about when you purchase a property, to pay attention to the plants that are there and their spiritual implications, and that they're there to heal that piece of land. I really love that part. She goes through seasonal healing, so it might be good for you. She touches on Ayurvedic principles. This is my shtick right here, our inner terrain. You know, I don't believe in terrain theory. I think of it as complete fact.
What is that? What is that? Can you just explain briefly for a newbie?
Oh, a terrain theory is that instead of like killing germs and killing bacteria and kill and eradicate, you how shall I say it? You mitigate your bacteria in your body so that your inner tissues are not conducive for pathogenic overgrowth. They're conducive to basically healing your ecosystem.
It's like looking at, it's like, and this is something I'm doing like a short thing on Instagram, but it's like taking the soil. In order to have good plants, in order to have a healthy ecosystem, you have to have healthy soil and everything in that. But it's like, that's the outer reflection of our inner terrain, where we need healthy soil in our body, and a healthy, so that if you have a good healthy garden, the weeds don't even want to come into it, because you have all this good bacteria, you have the earthworms going, you have the plants good and healthy. And so the bugs and the pests and all that are just going to go away. I mean, I'm going to put, that's my whole foundation behind dealing with fleas and ticks. If you have a healthy terrain, the bugs aren't even going to want to be there, you know? So
in very short numbers.
Exactly. Yes, it has to do with your microbiome, your biochemistry, everything.
And also the thing with if you have a healthy soil, right, and then you do companion planting and help the environment work towards the better good of everything, right? That's the same thing as terrain theory. So you are what you eat. You have to nourish your microbiome, and you do that all naturally, so that the inside of your body, because the thing is that the gastrointestinal tract, it's just like your skin on the outside.
This is like your skin is like a jungle.
Yeah, it's inside skin.
And the surface of your skin is like going down into like the tropical jungle. You know, you've got all these things living on here. We better have something living on here, otherwise we're going to be when we're dead, we've got earthworms living on there. But so it's just like how you set up your microgreens, and how you started saying, oh, now I've got lizards coming in, and now I've got birds coming in. It's, you start setting that up, and all these other life forms come in. Like I have my little herbal container garden outside my screen door, because the rest of it's actually flooded now because we're in rainy season. But I watched 25 different species of birds come up there to my herb garden and mess around and eat stuff every day. And, you know, and we have the compost bin next door as well. So that's bringing in a lot of insects, but it builds up into this whole life system. Like more life comes in.
So
yeah, it does.
Builds.
So where does biodynamics come into this? Is this
biodynamic is from Rudolf Steiner. That's
It's
Rudolf
whole system.
Steiner's version of farming. So that has, like, is based on anthroposophical theory, which is a whole nother system.
Yeah, it would be a whole nother talk, but it's highly
another university.
Yeah. It's highly complicated. It's very nourishing. There's, biodynamics includes lunar and solar cycles, astrology, some kind of borderline magical processes, no pesticides,
I learned it.
No herbicides. It's like a completely self-generating farm.
I learned
really
it
cool.
in the Waldorf school. We had gardening class in the afternoon and we planted our garden, but we would sit and draw the life cycle, the cycles, the phases of the moon. So like you plant the seeds. If you want something to grow underground and have a big root structure, you plant it during the new moon or the dark of the moon, because the etheric forces of the earth are being pulled down into the earth. Whereas if you want something that's going to be flowering and blooming and have more life force above ground, you plant it on the waxing moon as the moon is getting stronger and there's more light and more force pulling upwards.
Yeah, and like so, you would harvest if you're going to harvest something that's rich of water and nourishment, you harvest it during up to the full moon and under the full moon, because you're going to have all of that water and nourishment in the plant, just like you worm your moon. So I mean, it's a complete biological system that Rudolf Steiner had developed, and
but
some people are really good at it.
I mean, my grandmother planted according to the moon. This is not new stuff. This is knowledge that has become lost and is coming back.
Yeah, my grandma did all that stuff. She didn't do anything. She didn't have a doctor, and she had 16 kids.
Right? Yeah.
She didn't have a doctor at all. She had a midwife, and that was it. Never went to the doctor. All the kids lined up and got their castor oil in the spring, and
and cod liver oil. Oh my God.
They got 1 teaspoon. It's just, it makes me wince, making my face go.
But then you burp it all day.
Yeah. Ew. But but biodynamics is an entire system of Rudolf Steiner. And then, but he doesn't, as Josie said, planting via the moon cycles and stuff have been going on for a millennia. Yeah. Astrology is is the oldest science. So, and I love astrological herbalism. It's one of my favorites, my passion project.
Yeah, we should do something with astrology.
Wow, I've never heard. What is astrological herbalism? What's that, very quickly? It's just blew my mind.
Yeah, so all plants are ruled by certain astrology signs, and also you plant those plants under that astrology sign for more powerful growth. It's the same thing. It's like the moon cycle, and the moon cycles are part of astrological herbalism. People have a chart, and it's called a natal chart, and they have different things that you can suffer from by being that person. Like I'm an Aries with a Virgo rising and a Libra moon. Okay, so my head rules my body. Okay, and I can't tell you how many times I have had sickness in my head. I've had upper lower jaw surgery. I've hit my head on a horse. It's fascinating. So you can use someone's
and the head is what with Aries, with the Aries. I have two little dogs, a whole household, actually, these two little dogs, and they continually get head injuries and get bonked on the head.
Oh yeah, I think I should wear a helmet most days. Yeah. And but you can use someone's astrological chart to help you discover imbalances in their body. So it's medical a whole astrology. Yes, it's a whole thing. It's definitely the passion project of my second half of life, for sure.
This little book is Herbal
I've got that book.
Yeah, and she goes into some of the correspondences. But there's also a woman doing astrological medicine online now. and I've been following her, and it's really awesome. She's kind
Judith
of
Hill is amazing.
Yeah, Judith Hill, but this is somebody else. I forget her name. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't follow a lot of people because I just don't have time. But I love Judith Hill. I love astrology in general. One of my favorite intro books to astrology, that for someone who has no idea really how to do it, is if they have their birth time, is I have it right here on my desk.
Josie, you were asking me about my thing, because you were journey.
This is Rosie Finn.
Okay.
Rosie Finn is an amazing astrologer. She's here in Olympia. She used to be a cement engineer, so she's really good at math. And I think to be really, 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 really good at astrology, you really need to be good at math. I am not, so I'm limited in that factor. But she's just an amazing astrologer. She has studied the transit of Pluto, because it's about to come to an end. And she's writing this whole book about Pluto and how it coincides with different rulers throughout when it started.
Well, we're in the Pluto return of the United States right now, which is, and there's also, like Pluto stuff, Green. Oh, what is his name? Green in evolutionary astrology, but he talks all about the Pluto, because I have a heavy Plutonic chart. I've got Pluto sitting on my midheaven with Uranus, so I'm heavy Pluto.
Well, and that's again another conversation too. So, but there's a plethora of things that there's just so much, there's so much. That's why I'm a dog herbalist, because there's just so much. And that's why I don't work with cats or horses, or even though I got a horse now, so I'm trying to teach myself a little bit about horse herbalism. But that's why I've niched myself so tight, because there's just so much to learn,
Oh yeah,
Human
definitely.
Dogs are all I can handle. There's just so much to learn. But I love the vibrational medicine, a part of herbalism. I love plant spirit medicine, using the spirit of the plant for healing. I love, I just love that part. I love the astrological herbalism, where some other people might gravitate towards more medical herbalism or, research-based herbalism. I love all of it, but I tend to gravitate towards the more soulful herbalism and soulful relationships with the plants.
That's because you're a very spiritual person.
Yes, I am. So
that's why I had you on here. That's why I love you so much.
Yeah. That's why we're talking woo-woo stuff.
And it's just so important, Josie. I think that even with so I kind of want to say this. So even with people, practitioners, right? Josie practices a certain way, I practice a certain way, and then we have tons of other people, like Todd Cooney and Judy Morgan and Dr. D. Blanco. There's a whole, I could go on and on and on. People practice differently. Okay. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that one person is better than the other. It doesn't mean that one person is wrong and the other person is right. Exactly. I tell my students all the time, I am teaching you what I've learned and what I've discovered myself. I'm one of those people that takes in information, I put it in my own blender, and I do what resonates for me and what I've learned and what I feel resonates, right? That doesn't make me an absolute expert on what I'm saying. It's what I'm saying. And you can take it and see if it resonates with you, or something else might resonate with someone else. It doesn't mean that I necessarily disagree with someone and I think that they're a crappy practitioner. That's in no way, shape, or form. I think that collectively we can make a difference. We can make a difference as individuals, yes, but the power comes from collective information and learning from each other and being humble and being open to being wrong. You know, there's nothing wrong with being wrong. Like, that's the thing. There's so much gray area out there that we're always looking for black and white. Well, you know, like I heard someone say something about Gene Dodd's nutrigenomics. I have it.
Yeah. I have that book.
There was something wrong in the book. You know, who cares? That book is a great book. You can get a lot of good information about that book. Is the book 100% correct? No, I don't think so. But
again, like you said, none of us is 100% correct. And that's why, like, I feel like the people who resonate are going to resonate with me are going to find me. They're the ones that I easily, you know, like if you come at me with a case or something, I'm busy. I'm not looking for stuff, but you'll be able to get a hold of me, or that animal will show up. And for whatever reason, I'll call that person back at that particular time of day, and they will have the time when I can come see their animal, you know, and it all just works together. Whereas somebody might not be, everybody's on their own paths, and somebody might not resonate with me and what I'm doing at all, you know, and they need to go see this person first and go that way, which is great, you know.
And things change. You know, and the good thing about research is sometimes, you know, a lot of times, you know, we have these great researchers out there that are a lot of times they're just telling me what I've already known about a plant through its hundreds and hundreds of years of history, right?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it came out that hawthorn is a very good heart tonic.
Right.
Okay.
Horses have been eating it for.
Yeah. Thank you for confirming that. I appreciate it. But you know, like there are so many things that change. Like, for instance, this is a perfect example. So there's this book that I love. I'm sure you have a copy.
Oh yeah, I've got that.
So Paul Pitchford deserves a medal. He deserves an award. This book should be award winning. It's not a book that you read from front to back, even though I have. It's a great reference book, right? So I deal a lot with, my passion is in energetics, okay? It's how I run my practice. It's how I heal dogs. It's how I heal people. I love energetics. It works for me. I see it very clearly. Okay, so this is a really good book to find out the energetics of most things. But here's the rub. Here's the gray. Here is the gray. So some people would say, well, traditional Chinese medicine, first of all, I'm a Western herbalist, okay? Josie is a traditional Chinese medicine herbalist, okay? We gel on so many things, but we may disagree on a few things. Who cares? She's a rock star. I think I'm pretty great at what I do. I'm a good herbalist. But like, I believe that beef, bison are cooling, okay? My experience of them with my clients for 20 years is they're cooling. Pork, in my opinion, is a refrigerant meat. I don't use it very often. I might use it for a dog that's super hot, right? Or someone say, well, I heard that pork is neutral. I heard that. Okay, but here's the thing. I know where you're going. So TCM is thousands, Chinese medicine is so old, right? It is so old. And during that time when energetics were assigned to a lot of these proteins and vegetables, we didn't have things like glyphosate. We didn't have people using antibiotics in agriculture.
And they were pasture raised. But here's the one thing that I want to bring out in this gray area is anybody who comes out and says, this is the end all be all, this is warm, this is hot, this is that. This is warm in relation to this. Yes. This is cold in relation to this. Yeah. And TCM is all about the relationships. It is all about what, this may be an earth, and I could have two earth dogs sitting in front of me and you'd be like, what? But in relationship to something else, it's all about in relationship to the whole. So, this argument of like, well, I heard this, that, and it drives me absolutely nuts. And when I see people argue. I've been in pet food stores and seen people arguing about it. I've seen things on labels and I'm like, first off, I need to sit down with you and I need to ask you some questions about your individual animal. And then I'll tell you whether that's a good protein for your dog.
Yes. And that's the thing. Like, so I created a guide, right? This is neutral. This is warming. This is hot. This is cool. This is cold. However, it's a guide. It's gray because of your individual dog. So like, yes, actually ginger could be, I mean, turmeric could be cooling in the face of ginger, but ginger is warming. Really, but you know, I mean, in comparison to, that could be actually be cooling. So there's just so much gray area. So like I mean, if I could tell,
if you've got a dog with stomach heat, like it could, you know, depending upon the individual's constitution and their imbalance, one thing is going to be cooling in one and warming in another. You can't.
Absolutely. And then, you know, and then you can get into the whole thing of false heat and the body
that
cold, you know, like I recently had a client that, you know, that they were giving everything like warm. They were giving so many warming things, right? And when I looked at the dog as an individual and asked the questions I needed to ask to figure out, okay, so what's this history? What's going on? What medicines have they had? You know, have they had that, you know, I could tell
medicines in
that this dog had false heat. Like it was cold and it felt hot. Its stomach was hot. But once I started with calendula and we did ginger, and I said, we warm this dog up, and they were like, but he's so warm. I'm like, it's not true heat. It is, I'm going to bet. And it was a gray area bet, Josie. Like there's more
false heat and yin deficiency out there than there is actually heat that I find, you know, unless you're dealing with a really young dog puppy that's off, you know, crazy. But calendula, it helped me actually with my own yin deficiency stuff because and I go back to the whole menopause thing. Like I'll have a hot flash, but immediately after that hot flash was this false heat, you'll be freezing cold because that underlying cold will come in, and it's like, so you bounce back and forth. That's another thing. I've been starting Steve Marsden. I've been doing a lot with his, because he's a huge minor blue plurum fan, and the Chao Shai Hu Wang, which is the Shaoyang meridian is the gallbladder and triple heater. And so it's in that in-between state, kind of like what you were talking about with yarrow and with hawthorn. They'll it balances, like, because you can bounce back and forth between the heat and the cold, but it takes down the middle road, so it balances out the body. But I've been doing a lot of work with that, especially in dogs that get worse in the springtime and the fall with things like the allergies too, or the in-between seasons, and even I'll see the cushiate, but these are like, that's like the minor blue plurum, Chao Shai Hu Tong. But Steve Marsden, he's out of Canada, he does a lot of stuff with that. You know how everybody, like some people are like spleen school, and some people, every herbalist has it's like the starting point where you start in the body to get it working. And then you know, like you were saying, the liver's everything, but some people would say the spleen and the stomach's everything.
Yes, true.
Steve Marsden says it's all about the like,
we have to respect each other and we have to work together. And I think people like to pit people off of each other. Like, well, she said this and this other person said this, and it's like, you know what, we're both right. And you know,
I think social media has done that though, and that's why I'm trying to that's why I want having conversations like this with you and other people, is to get back into the gray area, because there's so much. When we put our heads together and I'm learning things from you now and like sharing things back and forth, it just makes everything so richer and funner, and, you know, and we help more.
Yeah. And we don't, and the thing is we don't own this information. This isn't my information. No. This is information that I've learned, and some of it I've created. Right. And then the thing is you have to put it back out into the world. Otherwise it just sits there and does nothing.
And some of it, it's almost like, I love how you said, because I'll get information coming to me. I mean, sometimes I'll get downloads coming to me, but I put it all together, and you digest it and you experience it in your own body, and then you put your own spin on it and put it back out, you know. But right now I'm doing some geomancy stuff, which is really, really cool. But I've had all kinds of different stuff coming to me lately on that level. But yeah. And that goes to that
to share.
The terrain theory. I mean, our Earth it's calling us back, you know, really is.
Yeah, I love terrain theory. I definitely, you know, I don't see it as a theory. It just feels so
exactly right.
Yeah, it feels so powerful, and so, you know,
how things are. It's not a theory.
Yeah.
It's how things
it's how things are. We have to stop trying to eradicate everything. That's not how it works, and that's how we're getting ourselves into trouble. We're trying to control nature, and it will not be controlled.
Well, it's like the invasive plant theory that goes right into talking about it. You know, it's like, you guys are so off balance. We're going to come in and, like, you know, throw all the knotweed at you to heal the Lyme disease.
Right. The teasel grows everywhere. And, you know, it's everywhere. It is everywhere. Wow. And right here, we've got Scotch broom moving in. And guess what Scotch broom's good at?
What?
What? You know, anger.
Wow.
Anger is a trigger. I mean, look at how angry we are as a people. We are
and
angry.
You have Scotch broom up there, huh? When I went up to Pittsburgh, and this was right before COVID. A good friend of mine lived up there, and this was when I was making all my flower essences. They were having poison hemlock moving in everywhere. I went into the local cafes, and they had flyers up going, don't go near, don't pick the pretty white flowers in the ditch. Like, everywhere was covered in poison hemlock. Which is interesting. I made a flower essence out of it, because I found these certain things up in Pittsburgh, but you know how toxic that whole area is from all those mines all those years. You know, they had all the refineries there.
West Virginia, Pittsburgh, the whole thing is just a mess.
Oh my God. Yeah. And so poison hemlock moves in to do its work, you know?
Yeah. I love There's a great book. I haven't bought it yet, but it's called Invasives, and I really want to read it.
I have it on my shelf. I haven't picked it. I've got to get it out again. But
yeah, I have to read it. So, but that's so cool. So,
well, I'm so glad you got to join us.
Yeah, you know, I love this conversation today, because I've learned so much as a pet parent. Just you two amazing ladies, you know, like, really, Rita, both of you are rock stars in my eyes. You know, like, you're to me, you're my mentors, because I learned so much. And, you know, you were saying that your different journeys, and that's the beauty of the universe to me, is that it's so big. The tapestry is so big. We are all individuals. We're starting from wherever we are, and we're just finding our journey and flow. And we create, you know, these little magic and miracles and little, you know, insights as we journey on, and then we share it, you know, and it becomes this beautiful tapestry where, you know, there is no right and wrong, as you were saying. It's really like different shades of gray, and really like different shades of colors. You know, there's lots of gradations of it, and that's what I love about mixing with people like you, because it really opens the mind so much more. It blows the mind, all that limiting beliefs, all these walls, especially with COVID. You know, I think with COVID has isolated people in such a way. I will use the word brainwash people in such a way that they're so scared of even, you know, mask on, mask off kind of thing, you know. But like,
theory,
you know, just listening about all this, and it resonates so deeply with me, you know, like the seasonal stuff, the rotational stuff, just, you know, being open. And it's okay to make mistakes, because that's how you learn. If you don't make mistakes, you're not going to figure things out. That's what I mean. Like, even with plants, they get bruised, but, you know, they grow back, you know, they get sick, you cut them off, you prune them, and new buds will come out, you know. That's what I love. And today's call, I have to say, just
Filled you up. Good.
I didn't know what we were talking about, but I'm glad we had our conversation. It was lovely.
Oh, I loved it. I mean, like, honestly, when I listen, I'll have to listen to it, I don't know how many times, because there's just so much information from the two of you that, like I said, I'll have to, like, like get a dictionary and spell out certain words. But yeah, it's amazing. And when is your book coming out? Rita.
What are we talking
about?
Rita. Yeah, you say you're doing a book.
Well, I'm in the process of getting a book agent right now. So
okay.
So I don't know when, probably, hopefully within a year from now, but I have 4 books I'm writing, so I'm excited about all of them.
Wow.
But I'm not self-publishing my book.
You are?
Okay.
No, I'm not.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't want to
self-publish. A lot of work, and I don't think
I don't have any time to do that. I don't. Yeah. I need to. My main goal to do my books. I have the individual dogs are individuals. That's my first book.
Okay.
And my second book is a monograph book, so 25 herbs, and it's really detailed. And in fact, Josie, you helped me with a couple of monographs when I started working on it before the pandemic hit. Yeah. And so I'll probably still hit you up with the TCM and have you do that for the book. And then so 2 sets of 25, so 2 books, 2 monograph books, and then the seasonal dog, the seasonal canine.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I have 4 in the mix.
But I'm talking about time management. Man.
When do you sleep?
God. I don't even work past 6. So
you don't
work at 6 o'clock hardly ever.
Wow.
I can't. I did that. I'm a cancer survivor, and cancer taught me a whole bunch about my lifestyle and overworking. So I take more breaks than I ever have now. I still, the food poisoning was I tend to look at things like that majorly happened to me and try to find the lesson, because before I had cancer, I ignored red flags because I was just too busy. And now, like the food poisoning thing, I kind of looked at it when I was laying there in bed, kind of sick. And I'm like, because I had like an entire week booked, even though I was with my best friend after I did my job, the work that I went to Nashville for, I had all these clients booked in, and I thought to myself, and I had to cancel every one of them. And of course, reschedule them and meeting with someone
like me
11:30 to catch up. I shouldn't have booked them in the first place. I should have rescheduled them before I went. And here's the thing, you don't have to be sick in order to validate resting. Right. And that's
Amen.
Yeah. Yes. And that's one of the things cancer taught me. And let's see, I had cancer in October of 2017. So that's 18, 19, 20, 21. I'm almost 5 years out. And you get kind of lackadaisical again. And I think that
the universe gave you a kick in the butt.
Yeah, the food poisoning, just a poke going, don't do that. It's you deserve time off. Reschedule your clients, go enjoy your best friend who you haven't seen, in a couple of years, and knock it off. And I'm poking you to let you know this. You do not need to be sick in order to rest. And I think a lot of, as women, I think we have these expectations of ourselves, and we put this pressure on ourselves to be everything to our clients when we take care of ourselves and when we take time off, we're so much better for it. Because the job that I do, and I know Josie would 100% agree with me, it's a mental job. And if my mental capacity isn't working, you do not want me trying to help your dog. Like, you don't want that. So that was my learning lesson from having food poisoning.
I made the mistake today. Saturdays and Sundays, I don't work. And I woke up today, I'd done blood work on a dog and it happened to come through. So I went ahead and sent it off to her. I broke my rule. It was Saturday morning. I sent it off to her.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she comes back with me going, well, what about this? And what about that? And you missed this and you missed that. And you know what I wrote to her? I said, I just woke up. I haven't had my coffee. It's my day off. It's Saturday. I will speak to you on Monday morning. But I broke my own rule.
Yes. Do not send it till Monday until you're ready to answer those questions, you know.
Broke my own rule and it came right back. It's like instant karma, man.
Yep. You can always go back to your own self behavior. And that is a beautiful thing, because if you're responsible for it, you can fix it. And yeah, I mean, and that's a whole nother conversation. We could talk about being an entrepreneur, you know, definitely.
Boundaries.
And some of the stuff that goes with it. But that was my learning lesson for being food poisoned. Rita, when you go out of town, quit booking clients and just enjoy yourself. Even though, I mean, I went there for work, but I had 7 days to spend with my best friend, and I had them booked, you know, clients booked every day except for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Well, I didn't do anything because I had food poisoning. And I took it as like, okay, because I had so many of those incidences before I discovered I had cancer, and I ignored all of them.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, it was funny because after I had my intestinal thing blow out, and then I scheduled these 4 days off, and I was telling Amrys, it was like I went to a hotel, checked in with a group of people I knew. We had the food plan, and I parked my car, and I didn't have any obligations to anybody for 4 days. If I wanted to go sit by the pool, I sat by the pool. If I wanted to read a book, I read a book. If I didn't want to do anything and stared at the sky, I stared at the sky, you know, for 4 days. And it was so nice. And we really need that checkout time.
Yeah, I'm taking more time off than I ever have, but I'm very productive in the time that I work.
It makes you, when you take that time off and come back, you're more productive. Actually, my head is clearer and I can think better.
More focus.
Yeah. And another thing I tell people, and I tell my students all the time, because they get all worked up and like, I should be learning this and I should be learning that. And I should know more. You're right where you need to be, you know, and I say it to myself, I write it to myself, you know, let it go. You're right where you need to be. You know, no, I haven't gotten my level 1 course out. I will get it out this year. You know, I'm right where I need to be. Let it go. You know, like it'll come, it'll get there, it'll do its job. And you just have to accept where you're at. And that way you can be present in your life. And I think that's one of the most important things that you can do.
Definitely. Yeah.
I really enjoyed talking today.
I love this. We have to reschedule for part 2, Rita. Yeah, because I think you know,
we have to do something.
There's you know, so much to share, you know, and I love this conversation because, you know, it's so rare, you know, like, you know, most of the time, like, you know, the fresh feeding community, whatever that goes on, you know, but this is the kind of conversation that is so yummy. It's just so yummy. And I love it. And I just feel so blessed. I really do feel so blessed that, you know, I get to participate and listen in, you know, like I keep telling you, like a fly on the wall, and I'm listening in to these amazing conversations because I learned so much. And I just think like there's so much more to live for and to learn and to love and to appreciate. And I appreciate the both of you for sharing this with me. So thank you so much.
Well, I had a good time, and it was nice catching up with you, Josie.
Yeah, great. Definitely. Yeah, we'll have to do more.
You guys have a great Saturday. Or Sunday. I don't know if it's Sunday for you, but it might be.
Well, Sunday morning.
Okay.
We're going to talk to Isla tomorrow. So
yeah.
Oh, tell her I love her.
I will.
She's my sister, another mister. So
yeah.
We're born one day apart. I just love Isla. She's fantastic. She's a fantastic contribution to the world. So
yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. All right.
Wow. I'm so thankful and grateful that you took the time to listen to this podcast. It would mean the world to me if you could subscribe, download, rate, review, and share this with others whom you care about that may enjoy it as well. Thank you, and remember to be kind to yourself and others. Have an awesome day, everyone.